Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome here. Well, it's Christmas, well, between Christmas and New Year. We're almost at New Year in fact, and this is my finale review of the year show, and I thought we'd have a bit of a sort of a party atmosphere, a bit like we did back in the summer. Quite a lot of interesting things modelling related. Gonna have a bit of champagne, of course, only the best stuff for me, you know what it's like. But first, as it's still Christmas and we've still got a few Christmas crackers around, I'm going to pull a cracker. So I've got my trusty Christmas cracker here. My trusty assistant, who doesn't want to appear, is promised to pull the cracker with me. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. And it means I'm going to have a silly party. I'm not going to read out the jokes because they're actually very bad on these. So I'm just going to make myself a quick hat. Get into the party atmosphere. I suggest while I'm messing about, you pour yourselves a drink. Get yourselves a drink, get yourselves a snack. And we can have a few laughs, modelling related laughs. How does that work? Does that work like that? No, it doesn't. There we go. We're off to a great start, aren't we? Oh, I'm going to wear the crown of a king. You're king. Right. There we go. Now then, without further ado, I'm going to start by having a drink. My favourite brew, especially to celebrate Christmas, New Year. Finally, I haven't had any of this Christmas yet, and it's time to open the Tattinger. And we're going to try our very best not to repeat what happened in the summer. Seriously, we're not going to repeat that, where we had an absolute, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. And those of you that were around at the time will remember it. I'm sure I'll be eagerly awaiting a repeat, and I'm hoping not to do that. Possibly can. Whoa, there we go. Whoa, well, it has a big spillage. Oh, that's a great start. No, not to worry. I shall just grab my tissue. It's okay. It's just a little splot. That's always going to happen when you've got the real stuff at hand. There we go. No problem. So, then you wonder why I wear gloves. Let's just create a little bit of spillage there. And we're going to have a nice pour of the real stuff. I won't go mad with it though, we don't, just in case, for safety reasons, we'll try and keep it to the minimum. There we are. My assistant will kindly take that away, just be careful because it's on a little bit of a... Yeah, it's fine. There we go. So, we're ready for party time. We're going to talk kits, we're going to talk films, we're going to talk airbrushes, we're going to talk about some of the highlights of the year, my YouTube highlights of the year. And if you just excuse me, I'm going to have to actually wipe the gloves because I've still got champagne on there. We'll just crack into a quick wet wipe. It wouldn't be a party with me, would it? A modelling party if we didn't have some sort of mishap. We know what it's like. I'm not accident prone, to be honest, but every time I seem to get anywhere near champagne, things seem to go wrong. Do you know what I mean? Right, we're all sorted, I think. Now then, he says, can we wipe that? Time for a drink. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. All the best for 2023 to everybody. Cheers. Chin chin. Oh yes, very nice. Right then. Okay. Actually, I don't think I've poured myself enough. I think I might need some more. If my assistant's around, she might come and bring it for me. Never mind. In the meantime, a couple of the highlights that we had during the year on the YouTube channel, which some of you might have found quite amusing, which were genuine accidents, not scripted, not intended. I'm just going to show them to you, and then I'll put the... oh yes, and there's my Le Mans Porsche. Oh, hello. What's this? Oh dear, there's a problem. Seems like I'm not to be trusted with this. Oh, thank you very much. So I'm not allowed to have a proper glass anymore. I've got to have one of these plastic ones, it seems. Oh dear, oh dear. Still, she's not wrong though, she's given what's just happened. Cheers. You know, at least I've got some more champagne that way. I just realises there's not much in that now. Cheers. Oh, it's not the same though, it's not the same. Anyway, back to the serious stuff. So, I'm just going to say that I have here my Le Mans Porsche that I finished, of course, recently. I'm going to zoom you in, just show you a couple of highlights of the year that we've had. He says, there we go. Now, See what you make of this. Keep the thing on. Technology, guaranteed to do it to you. Now then, here's one of the highlights. Now the danger here, this is all about never work with children or animals or alcohol or other people's property. Because if you do, things can go terribly wrong. So first of all, we've got a couple of these. Look at the size of these, they're so small. These are your tracks. They're tiny. Oh! They're also very brittle. Why are they solid? They're not actually malleable, these. Oh dear. I'm sorry, John. I didn't intend to just break that, but you'll see when you examine this kit that they're solid. So there's no way you could use them. This is not rubberized at all. It's like plastic. And it comes off a sprue that... Whoa, that's also just broken my hand. Oh my God. I'm going to get so sued for this. That's solid, and it's very, very brittle. Can you see that? This is most unusual. This is not. I'm going to handle this now very gently. I'm so sorry, John. Genuine accident. But this is rigid. I don't know how you're supposed to form that into tracks. You're not gonna. You're gonna have to get some alternative ones. How very strange. Is that, has age hardened it? I don't know why that would be. I've never seen this before in any other Matchbox armoured vehicle kit. They're always very soft, like a plastic rubber band, elasticated. This isn't. This is a... Maybe it's because it's this metallized finish. Oh my God, that's come off in my hand as well. I don't know if I should stop the video. The end has just come off as well. Not that you could use it. That's just a rigid piece of plastic, as is that. You're never going to make them into a track. Oh dear, I think I've got some apologising to do. I don't know what to say. This is the risk of doing live unboxing somebody else's property, isn't it? Right, we're not going to touch them anymore. I can't believe that just happened. They're just solid, and they're so brittle. So brittle. You can't even... I'm not even going to do it. Even the most minor flex and it just snaps. Absolutely unbelievable. Oh dear, I'm in a lot of trouble, I can see. Oh boy. Not exactly a highlight, that was it really. Definitely a low light of the year if ever I saw one. So obviously things couldn't get any worse than that. Or could they? Uh-oh. I'm zooming in. More champagne, please. This is supposed to be a party, come on. I know it's very hot. And it is blooming hot, I tell you. And this is, I'm speaking to you probably 48 hours before you're going to... Oh! Let's drop the champagne. And it's gone everywhere, and it's made a bit of a mess. I shall have to have more champagne. Definitely more champagne now. Fell off the edge, and I think I broke the glass as well. Oh dear. These things, this is live TV, you see? Live TV. Let me just get a little cloth. You'll have to bear with me, this is quite funny, isn't it? You're all going to think he's raving drunk. He's drunk. So it's just the heat getting to me. But that actually fell then, slipped, and it had a little bit of a spin, spilled some of its champagne, and then it fell on the ground, and it shattered everywhere. And we had a bit of a tragedy. Oh dear. So, clearly there is some logic in my wife's insistence that I have a plastic baby glass for my champagne. Anyway, on that note, I think it would be a good time to start the show today, the party. Let's get this party started, as they say, talking about the channel. And also, I'm going to start, actually, rather than giving you all statistics, well, I will give you statistics, actually. I think that'll be useful. And then I shall go on to thank a few people, especially the people whose property I destroyed. Not content with destroying my own property with champagne glasses, I obviously smashed up a few models too, like you do. It's like the Rolling Stones after a concert, isn't it? Smash the guitars into the speakers and all that stuff. Well, I'm the modelling equivalent of that, really. Anyway, a few stats for you. So, on YouTube, now you've got to bear in mind, my YouTube channel is just a little tiny speck, really, of a niche of a hobby. So I'm a one-man band and I operate basically in my garage, for want of a better expression. So bear in mind that I'm not, there's only me featured in them, apart from when we do some military aircraft displays and things like that. It doesn't seem the same out of the plastic glass, I've got to say. But it is the real McCoy. Anyway, some figures for you. So that drunken disaster where the champagne glass got smashed was actually the video celebrating in the middle of the terrible heat wave at mid-late July. We had obviously this very hot temperatures, but I just celebrated, literally it was about an hour after, within an hour of actually hitting 1 million views on just one of my videos. And that was actually one of the military aircraft vids, the 8 F-15E Strike Eagles that took off from Lakenheath, which I actually filmed 5 years ago. So I got to 1 million views, but it did take 5 years to get there. So it was just a very popular vid. I think I did it, I'm not blowing my own trumpet here because I've done lots of bad vids on military aircraft and live stuff, but I just hit the sweet spot on this one day in April 2017, and I got a really good result. So 1 million views. It's actually now up to 1,020,000 views, so it's gone really well. Easily my most successful video. But in terms of this year alone, 2022, I've had just shy now of 500,000 views this year. I've had 3 million actual minutes that people have watched of the actual videos. I got 19,500 likes, what that's worth, but I do appreciate them. 1,900 new subscribers and climbing. The most popular month was April. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it was just the content that people liked at that particular time. The most lucrative for me was November, and the busiest was actually August, when I shot 21 videos in 1 month. And the whole year I shot, this is the last one, this is the 134th video. So I did 134 videos in total, most of which are in the style you see here. So there's the stats. So yeah, but of course it wouldn't be a successful channel on YouTube, even a small one, if it weren't for all the subscribers. And I want to take a serious moment to say thank you to everybody, and particularly some of the subscribers and viewers who tune in live regularly, and we have quite a nice banter, and it's all model related, and everybody gets on really well. We don't usually have any problems at all, and it's a hell of a lot of fun actually, and I love to be there chatting with everybody live. And I think that this format is the best, certainly that I can do. I'm not geared up to do live shows as such, but I think it's better in a way, because I do this show, I haven't got a script or anything. Everything is done straight out of my head. It's all things that I've got a few props and things around me that are relevant that we're gonna talk about. But it's all done just off the cuff. There's nothing written here to prompt me or anything like that, apart from today when I've got to need notes because there's so many names and statistics and things. So it's a very rare occasion to have anything in front of me. But it wouldn't be the same. I think the trouble is when you're doing a live show, you have to be focused on what you're saying and what you're doing. You can't have the same interaction. So doing it this way, I say my piece, I bring up the themes, and then we chat about it in the live chat, and it really works brilliantly. You get the benefit of the best HD. I'm going to put my light on, give you a bit more light. There we go. Illuminate myself. You get the best full HD, which when you do the live shows is often compromised very, very badly, in fact. And it works so well. So this year what was very special and different was that a great many of you have actually got involved yourselves, and you've contributed quite a lot. Not only in the chat and in the interaction, but actually offering kits. And I've had people offering kits on loan, which I am extremely respectful for. It's one of the reasons I always wear the gloves when I'm handling various kits. They're often not my property. A lot of them are either friends, relatives, or people, subscribers from the channel, who actually send them along, and I then very carefully make sure they get back to you in one piece. And that's been the thing about 2022 that's been completely different, to be honest. So I'm going to read a few names out. I'm going to start with one of our longest running, in fact 2 of our longest running subscribers, but the first one I'm going to name is a gentleman who's not been very well lately, and he literally has, at lunchtime today, just come out of hospital. It's James Mower, or Spock as I like to call him. Now, he's not been very well this week. He's had some heart problems, and I'm delighted to say he's, as I just went to start shooting this, I'm actually filming this on Thursday, late in the afternoon. So I know he was off to the pharmacy having been discharged from hospital, so thanks a lot for James. James sent us some kits, including his Vosper motor torpedo boat, and that Yak vertical takeoff, like a Soviet version of the Harrier. 1 or 2 others, I can't remember them all, but we had some really good kits from him. So thank you very much for that. And then, of course, there's David Mummery, another good friend of ours, who we correspond regularly, almost daily pretty much. And both these gentlemen are in the modelling forum I take part in as well, which is the Flory Models Forum. And David's contributed a number of kits as well. Now, for some reason I didn't write his down. He sent me 3 or 4 and I can't remember them, so sorry David, memory's gone. Trying to get as much detail down as I could, and 1 or 2 have been slipped. Then there's Paul Hunter, he came forward with a load of stuff, a load of books and kits. So we had the Back-M Natter, we had the Revell version, and we had the Brain Gun version. And he actually let me keep the Brain Gun version. Please keep it. And there's a few of you who have done this and actually handed kits over that you insisted I kept. Very, very nice of you and very generous indeed. And each one of them has been featured on the channel. And then, a little bit nervous about this one, Mr. John Bevan, JJB as we call him. It was his property that I destroyed on Global Live TV, as you just saw a moment or 2 ago, with his Honey Stewart. He sent me loads of kits. He sent me Heinkels and Arados and all sorts of things. But that was his Matchbox Honey Stewart, and very oddly, as you saw, the tracks had kind of gone hard with age, which is very unusual. They don't normally do that. The Matchbox ones, if anything, usually go even more gooey and soft and chewing gum-like. Well, his had gone rigid. And I managed to destroy them live on public TV, as you just saw. But no matter, because John was not too worried about this in the end, as it turned out, and he had some replacement tracks, and he's now built the kit and done a beautiful job of it. Many of you have seen the pictures, I think. And then we have Gary Hyder, another one of our friends down from the London and South East area, and he provided us with a couple of kits, the Matchbox Prowler, I'm sure another one, forgive me, I can't remember all of them. We've got Jeff Flood from Ireland, and he was helping me out with the super kits. I think he sent me a kit, and he also sent me all the photographs of the Matchbox Super Kings, where they did the boats and the tanks and all this stuff, and I used to have most of the ones he sent me, I had when I was a kid. They were really nice photographs, and we had a good show with that. Then we had John Fogo, and John has been brilliant. He's the guy that had the big Lysander, the Matchbox 32 Lysander, and he sent me 2 or 3 of the kits, and one of them he insisted I keep. In fact, a couple, I think. I think it's him that sent me the USS Indianapolis, and the little Lysander, the Matchbox Lysander, a kit I never had before. And it may have been him that sent me the Gladiator. Forgive me, guys, because my memory's gone. I haven't written them all down properly. Chris Doney as well, another one of our friends. He sent us several kits. One he contributed, one he loaned. Was him the Gladiator? I'm getting them all mixed up. Anyway, Chris sent several through. Then we had, perhaps the most remarkable of all in some respects, was Lewis Fredrickson. Lewis is down near Canberra in Australia, and he sent me the Matchbox, an original Matchbox Supermarine Stranraer, the 72nd scale kit, and that was just very generous, and it wasn't cheap to post for him either. So that was absolutely fantastic. So Lewis, if you're watching, thanks very much, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the best for next year. John Marley, another gentleman from Australia, he sent me the... is it Australia or was it New Zealand? I'm getting mixed up. I think it's Australia. I think he's also somewhere in the Canberra or Sydney area. Forgive me, John. The Victor instructions for the Victor, he sent those across the world to me as well. And then we had Bob Morgan, who sent me the Dauntless, which I ended up buying off him in the end. Neil O'Reilly sent us the A10, the A10, the first one, the 2-seater version. And then we had Ian Forbes, he sent us the Wellesley, he sent us a nice book about the Donegal Spitfire. Jason at Model Kit Stuff, who's got his own YouTube channel, I mentioned a number of times, he very kindly sent me the base for the Matchbox Puma armoured car. And of course our friend Stephanie Coe, who lives right over the other side of the world also, and she's in Seattle, and she's offered to send me lots of things, but I keep saying no doubt, because some of the things that either this, they're quite small. It's so expensive, especially from the USA, to send stuff, and I said no, it's okay. But named you anyway, Stephanie, because again you've offered all sorts of things, and it's been really nice of you to offer to help. So there's many others I can think of that I've not had things from, but continue to support the channel and are so positive and encouraging, and really clearly enjoy the stuff we do here. So thank you very much to everyone who tunes into these videos I do. Some of them I know are a bit tongue-in-cheek. I don't take myself too seriously, especially when I'm having a drink. Don't worry, it's not becoming an Alcoholics Anonymous channel. This is just the pre-New Year, dry January's coming, so you've got to enjoy it while you can, haven't you? So I hope you all raise a glass, and this is to all your good health, all subscribers, all viewers watching this, thank you very much. Cheers to you. It's beautiful, but it's just not the same. Out of plastic. Anyway, what we're going to talk about today is a number of things. And I'm going to finish off by giving you my personal, and it's a very subjective list, personal to me, my favourite top 10 kits of the year. Now, there's probably nobody going to completely agree with the 10, but you may agree with the sort of trend and the reasons given with some of them. So that'll be quite interesting. I'll do that at the end, like an awards, if you like. In the meantime, a few things to talk about. Something I picked up on actually earlier today was, I'm sure a lot of you will be going to talk about podcasts, going to talk about movies. Talk about podcasts first. I say podcast, it's actually a YouTube channel. A lot of you will already know this one, I think, in the UK certainly. There's a one called We Have Ways of Making You Talk. And this is the comedian Al Murray, British comedian from London, and James Holland, the historian, and they've got together and they've come up with this really amusing formula. It's very much in the sort of tongue-in-cheek style that I have here, but these guys are, in the case of James Holland, a very serious historian, and it's quite a light-hearted. They do these interviews with people, and they've been doing with all sorts of people, and they've been doing the 12 interviews of Christmas. And I recommend you go and check this out. I'll put a link underneath the video for you to have a look at it. And the one I heard today, I heard a couple of days ago, it's Sophie Rayworth, the BBC newsreader. And today, and that was really good, but today it was James May from Top Gear and Grand Tour fame. And he was very interested because he was talking about Airfix models and building Airfix kits, and he was talking about the K2 ambulance and all these Sherman tanks. And of course he did the James May's Toy Stories programme a number of years ago on the BBC, and that was really good. I think that was very well enjoyed. And that is worth going out, if you haven't seen it, just go on and put, We Have Ways, James May, or just put James May, and it'll probably come up anyway. Definitely worth listening. It's only about half an hour. And it's fascinating. They talk about German World War II aircraft and aircraft design, which is really interesting in itself. And then they get on to talk about making plastic models, and it's very entertaining. I'm sure most of you watching this will find that good fun. So, there's that. Then there is, again, I'm probably teaching Granny to suck eggs because I'm sure most of you have already seen this. It's Tom Cruise's new film, Top Gun Maverick. Now, there's nothing new about this. It's been out now for the best part of a year. We've had the DVD for a couple of months when it came out, but deliberately wanted, we're not on Sky or anything, but we deliberately wanted to see this film and have it something to watch on Christmas Day, which we duly did after a few technical problems with one of our DVD players. And I just wanted to say, for those of you that haven't seen it yet, I enjoyed the original Top Gun film. I enjoyed, but there was a lot of flaws in it because they were using American planes pretending to be Russian planes and all that kind of stuff. In this film, they've taken it using modern technology in terms of their ability to use CGI, but they've done it in a very, very subtle and clever way. And the vast majority, over 90% of the flying in the movie, is real flying. There's a lot of low-level stuff. I think some of it was actually filmed in Wales, but a lot of it was also in the USA, Nevada, and around in California. Low-level flying in the canyons, absolutely incredible technical achievement, this film. I have to say, the flavour of it as well, it's one of these films that hasn't sort of sold its soul in the way that I thought the Bond movie did last year. I'm not going to get into that now, but I was very disappointed by the No Time to Die Bond film. Technically, I thought it was beautiful, great to look at, but the plot was ridiculously full of holes. This is not perfect, no film is, but this is much more like an old-school Boyzone, Daredevil, sort of good versus evil, and there's a sort of redemption element in the story as well. This I can very strongly recommend to you. Clearly the best thing I've seen for a long, long time, certainly this year. My film of the year is Top Gun Maverick, no question. I'm sure a lot of you that have seen it will feel the same way. So I just urge you to see this. Don't think you're going to be disappointed in that movie. If you like aircraft and flying, wow, right up your street, I can tell you. So that's that I wanted to cover. Other things, well, I wanted to talk about, I'm not going to give you a lecture or a masterclass because I'm no expert, but one of the presents I got for Christmas that I still haven't opened at all, apart from taking the wrapping off, Christmas wrapping, is I got one of these Fender airbrushes. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is an economy airbrush, basically. It's made in the Far East, I think. Does it tell us that? Does it actually say made in China? Yes, it's a Chinese produced product. But unlike other cheap airbrushes, they do seem reasonably good, and the feedback that's been coming from people who've actually tried it seems to be really positive. People seem to think that they're relatively durable. And what we're going to do, I'm going to open it, I'm going to compare it to my Iwata HPCH, which is the only airbrush I own. I've been using this now for 13 years, this airbrush. I have no other, and what I do is I constantly replace the nibs, and I get the replacement needles for it on a regular basis. And it's a 0.3mm tip needle that I use, and there is the spare that I have at the moment, and it gets replaced at least once a year, this needle, and I usually replace the nib about every 18 months to 2 years. So I'm not saying I'm using the best, but I'm using a very, very premium quality airbrush. I don't expect this new one will be quite as good as that, but if it's even close or usable, because people say you should have a spare airbrush, and I never have, so I do a lot of cleaning. I'm constantly using the old, the nasty Revell Painter Clean, which is a solvent. I use a lot of solvent in it. If you look closely at my existing brush, I'll zoom you in. Look really closely at it, and you can see that I do keep it. One of the reasons I thought I'd wear the gloves, I nearly didn't today, but I thought, well, I'll put finger marks on my airbrush. Well, my airbrush is absolutely pristine, as you can see. That is a 13-year-old airbrush. The only thing that isn't pristine, if you look very carefully, I flattened the front of this because I actually dropped it and it fell cup first on the floor. So the actual cup cap no longer fits because it's not actually quite round. So that's the only damage to it. But I clean it, service it. This airbrush, when I'm doing a lot of modelling, this one gets stripped down multiple times. You know, if I'm doing 5 or 6 colours, it will be stripped apart 5 or 6 times. Now I know people say, yeah, that's ridiculous, over the top. But you know, if you're then going on to things like clear coats, you don't want any residue of anything. You've seen my kits now. A lot of you, not the regular viewers, but 1 or 2 newcomers have been on saying, do you ever build any of these models you sit there talking about? You never build them. Well, I think that probably a lot of those people have probably realised now, and if they've watched the videos in the last 2 weeks, that yes, I do. And you've seen the collection that are in the cabinets, and you can see that they're not all brilliant, but some of the more recent ones are built to a pretty high standard, I think. And this is a big factor in it, and keeping the sort of hygiene, if you like, housekeeping of my airbrush is a big factor in that. Now, if I've got this new one, I can perhaps keep that for things like priming and clear coats, and I can focus this one on the actual painting because it's nice, gives a nice fine pattern. So what we'll do is without further ado, I shall have a quick sip, let you catch a drink as well. I might have to ask for a little bit more champagne, please, shortly, because I'm going to be running out. What we don't want to do is what I did in the summer, which was filling it up, and then because I'm talking a lot, you know, and I'm not actually getting drunk, even though sometimes it might seem like I am. But we decided to not fill it so much because it gets warm. That's the problem. So I'll just press my champagne like Keith Floyd used to do. Press the button on the wall that says "Champagne, please," and we'll get some more. And I shall open this up and we'll have a look at it. Now the remarkable thing about it, really, is the price. I think this... well, I won't say the price, because I was given this by my wife, and another family member got one as well. Another very good model maker in the family. So I won't say how much it cost, but it wasn't crazy. It was a really competitively priced airbrush. And in terms of value, people that have bought them say you can't get a better value airbrush on the market now. So let's have a little look. So it's dual action, gravity feed, 9mm cup capacity, working pressure 1 to 3 bar, optional needle and nozzle sizes. And it's got a 1/8 inch BSB connector. And it comes, right. Comes in this Let me zoom you in a bit so you can see this. You don't need to see my party hat here really. Here we go. So, model is the FE180K. And yeah, the packaging is actually, looks fancy, but it's fairly rudimentary actually. It's just a plastic box essentially. And there we have it. So well, that's good. You actually get quite a significant hose that goes to your compressor. We have got here. Oh, this is amazing. So you get more than one nozzle. You've got a fan nozzle here, which gives a more open pattern. Ah, that's interesting, isn't it? Get some focus. That'd be really good. There we go. So there we are. And so it's like an Iwata clone, you might call it, really. So yeah, I've got a nice nozzle, optional ends to it. And over here we've got a little pipette. That's quite cool, isn't it? Okay. We have, oh my god, they've got, is that a spare needle? I think you might have a spare needle in it. That's quite impressive. So here's the actual airbrush itself. Now I can see straight away in the quality of the metal, it's not quite on the level. There's some, can you see that? In the finish, there's like a little bit of, the metal is not been engineered quite to the level that you'd expect with the Iwata. But take the cup off. Okay. Yeah, and again in the inside of the cup too, it's not engineered to the level of the Iwata. Let's just compare the two. And this is an Iwata that's survived probably 100 models, or getting on for 100, over 13 years. We can't expect the precision to be quite as much, but for what it costs, which is very, very affordable, yeah. The price of a meal, basically, the price of a decent meal in your local pub for one person. This is, and there's the needle. Look, wow, that's looking okay, I think, for the price paid. So I always pull the needle back when I'm going to put the nozzle back on. So that's the finer nozzle. And I say, people have tried these and they all seem to say, yeah, it actually works. It's like an economy version of the Iwata in many ways, and you can see the way it operates is awfully similar. You've got your back end comes off in a very similar way to the Iwata. You unscrew it like so. All very sort of conventional technology. And then you just pull it out. It's a little bit stiff, I have to say. You could probably do some lubricants in there because it's very stiff. But there we are. Can we see the needle there coming through? Yeah. There it is. Going out and going back in again. Out. Back in. I'll push it back in. We don't want to disassemble it completely, but yeah. I mean, this is an economy product, let's make no bones about it, but they have their place too, and they can be extremely useful to you if you know, like me, you don't want to constantly be cleaning the thing all the time. I have to say that a little dab of lubricant here and there and it'd be absolutely brilliant. I'm most impressed. Anyway, the champagne is arriving. Champagne, please. Let me just hang on a minute, just 1 second. That's an empty one, thank you. Oh, look at that. A full one. Excellent. Well, it is a party, isn't it? Thank you. Very nice, thank you. Yes, my wife just said you look a bit red in the face all of a sudden. Well, if you're drinking Tattinger Grand Cru, you'll be red in the face too, I can assure you. In a good way. Anyway, what do you think of that? So, as I said, for the price of a decent meal in a pub, frankly, that's pretty impressive. I'm not sure I would use it for the very finest work or the very most sensitive, expensive model, but it could be quite a useful workhorse for you for doing priming, for doing clear coats, you know. I like that, I have to say. Everybody that's recommended it, I say to you thank you very much, because it does look like that is quite a sensible recommendation. And here we have the 0.3, so that's the same size as I'm using, 0.3 needle, the spare, and it has a safety cap on, like a red plastic plug on the end. Sorry, bring you in so you can see this. There you go. So that's the spare needle that comes with it. So I don't think the Iwata came with a spare needle, so I'm quite impressed that you get a spare. Mine never came with a spare needle, so there we are. And it's, as I say, it's 0.3 millimetre, same as mine. And then you get your instructions underneath. Well, that's quite impressive, I think, for the money. You've got a tool here. This is obviously to remove your nib at the end, and again, very Iwata-like, but even the tool looks cheaper than Iwata, but because it will do, won't it? You know, you can't expect an airbrush like my own. If I just show them side by side, zoom out a little. So this is the new Fengda, the new economy version, and this is the Iwata here. You know, there are differences. I mean, my Iwata looks, it's totally polished, chromed steel, and the Fengda is, yeah, polished, chromed something, a different grade of steel, I think, basically. So this is Iwata, this is Fengda. But for the money, it seems pretty good. I mean, these are literally disposable airbrush. I mean, don't get me wrong, you wouldn't use it for one colour and throw it away or anything silly like that. But you wouldn't start crying if something happened to it, whereas with this, yes, this is probably a week to 2 weeks' wages for a lot of people. You know, this is not a cheap product. This is premium engineering, and has stood the test of time. When you can, you know, show somebody like I'm doing here, an airbrush that's lasted you 13 years and is still in service on every model. It doesn't need, you know, don't need to be convinced about it. It's got a pedigree there of a quality. And that's, you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. But that doesn't mean there isn't a place for an economy product that can actually be useful to you. And I think that one is going to be very, very useful indeed. I'm going to shut that up, and I'm going to say to you, if you're really stuck for cash and you don't have the, if you don't, you know, you just can't afford, you know, a premium airbrush, don't worry about it. I think that this will do most of what the Iwata can do. The only question mark for me, I think, would be its durability over time. I don't believe for 10 seconds that will last 13 years in the kind of usage that many of us, you know, you and I would put it through. So it's horses for courses, but that's still got its place. Still got really, that's going to help me a lot, because that means I can use it for the big coverage jobs, as I say, priming and clear coating. So there we go. So that's the Fengda airbrush. I should pop that over there and say to you, go buy one. If you look them up on Amazon, you'll be very pleasantly surprised about what they cost. Very sensible indeed. But I'm not going to part with the precious. There is no way. What was it Charlton Heston used to say about his, well, firearms? He used to say, "From my cold dead hands, that's the only way you'll prize this out of my hand." And it's like that for me with the precious Iwata. Ernest Iwata, you'll never take it. You'll never take me alive with it. So there you go. That's my favourite, and it always will be. I'm sure if I drop it again, things might change. I might need to replace that. But doesn't it just tell you? I mean, I look at that now and think, yeah, pretty much all the time I've lived in my current home, I've been using this airbrush the whole time. And there it is, one airbrush. It's like the Lord of the Rings, one airbrush to rule them all. But the more economical version has its place and can be very useful to you as well. So there you go. So that's airbrushes. Something else I wanted to talk about very briefly. This is something that just literally arrived today, just a few hours ago. I don't know if any of you, I'm open to advice here. Have any of you used this easy sanding version of the Tamiya CA glue? Because it's just arrived, and I got the impression that this was going to be quite a useful product for some of the kits. Let's see if we get a bit more. Easy sanding super glue from Tamiya. Now, Tamiya's other super glues, I generally use the gel one, which is, I find it an extremely good glue, but the one drawback with it is it's this gel style, and it sort of seems to gel up and gum up the applicator nozzle, and it's hell to try and ungum it. So I thought I'd try this. I'm a bit allergic to super glue, I've talked about it before. Don't like the stuff, to be honest, as a rule, and I try and avoid it. But I needed to try something else, and I thought this might be the one to try. So if any of you have tried that product, I've just got this from Taiwan. It's not readily available in the UK, but if you, I've got a couple of them. So if any of you have tried that, I'd be interested to hear your feedback on it. Very interested indeed. And the other thing I wanted to chat about was sanding sticks, sanding sponges. Now, as you probably guessed, I'm on the Flory forum, as I mentioned earlier, so I'm obviously a Flory, keen supporter of Phil Flory, but of course, unfortunately, this year he's decided that he doesn't want to continue with the sanding sticks anymore, which is a bit unfortunate because they were an excellent product, has to be said. Obviously, they were manufactured by a subcontractor for him. I've just got the first two to hand here. These are very familiar to most of you, I'm sure, even if you don't take part in his website or his forum or whatever. I'm sure you've all seen these before. And they are pretty durable, and yeah, they last a good while. They do various different grades. Many of you watching this will already have many sanding sticks like this. But sadly they're coming to an end, so we've got to find alternatives. So a couple of things I'm trying at the moment are, somebody asked me the question, I can't think who it was now, some comment or question that somebody sent across to me about the Porsche Le Mans car with the very high gloss finish, and they were saying, how did you get the high gloss finish? Well, the biggest reason was this Gravity 2K clear coat, which is, you've got to be careful with. It's like a 3-pack resin sort of style stuff. You've got to be extremely careful with it when you're handling it, and you need breathing apparatus or a great extraction system because the fumes are not good for you. But as you saw, it gave great results. But I also used some of this. This is a combination. For that particular model, I haven't got the original packaging now, but this is the God Hand, and this has come from Japan. The God Hand sanding sticks. Now these are really polishing sticks rather than sanding sticks. And you can see, obviously, by the grades what I mean. They are very low low abrasion rates. They are for polishing rather than for sanding things down. So these are really the ultimate for getting a fine gloss finish on things like cars or motorbikes, or perhaps on metalized finishes and things like that. If you want to really rub them down to have a super high reflective sort of finish, that's the one for you. But they're not cheap and they're not readily available. I got them from Japan, and I'm just trying to think. I had to wait a while for them. I'm trying to think who the merchant was. I bet you're all shouting out now because my memory's gone. It wasn't Hobbylink, it was the other one in Japan that's quite well known, merchant. Come back to me. And the other one, of course, is let's move my Christmas decorations for a second. The other one, of course, more available, is the Tamiya sanding sponges, which again, now these come in not just the ones I've got here. I think they go finer, but I've got here the more basic sanding sponges, which are very useful because they'll conform in a way that a Flory sanding stick or the sanding sticks tend not to do. Sorry, I've just taped them together just for convenience to show you. They don't come like that, but so they're each in a separate pack, like so. These are very good though. The only problem with them is, of course, they're expensive, and again, they're a bit tricky to get hold of. If you go on eBay, you might have to buy them from Japan. But they are very good, and obviously they're great at conforming. So things like my Sea Harrier, I'm going to be using these for sure, because that's got obviously lots of curves and like on the wings and things where you need to really try to get into awkward places. And they're not very big as well, so they're expensive, they're quite small, you need to cut them. Don't be too liberal in the way that you use them, I don't think. That can be quite expensive, yeah. But there we go, so there's a couple of solutions for, I was going to say, the God Hand is not really an alternative for the Flory stuff. but obviously the Tamiya stuff kind of is, especially for odd shapes and curves and things. Anyway, hope you're all enjoying the drink. Hope you're all enjoying the end of the year. I think we should talk about some of the kits now that we've had this year. I'm probably going to wind it up really by going into the top 10, my top 10 favourite kits. And this is not, I'll tell you now, this is not ended the way I anticipated. But we'll get into that in a second. The number one kit was not at all what I expected it to be, or intended it to be for this video. There's been a bit of a last minute change, and that is the nature of new kits, because something new comes out and then something new comes out again. But what I thought we'd do is maybe have a chat through them. This is not, I have not seen every single kit. I haven't even seen every single kit that's in my top 10, but I have seen most of them, or handled them. But there is no definitive list. I actually saw, purely by accident, I've already got my top 10 together, and I've got the sporting material. And then I actually saw, I think it was this morning or last night, somebody else had done a similar video to this, which I hadn't seen before ever actually, and done like an awards thing, and he came up with a very similar top 2, 3, not quite the same as mine, not quite for the same reasons, and it just made me chuckle, because I thought, well, had he, no criticism of anybody here, but had he had the latest kit, next week there'll be another latest kit, and then there'll be, the Qatari Spitfire comes out. Everything can change overnight in this game, so it's not definitive, and it's only my opinion at the end of the day. But I think most of you will agree with quite a bit of what I say, if not all of it. But I thought we'd get into that. So why don't we? I've got some photos to support it, and I've got one or two of the critical kits actually beside me. So I thought we'd perhaps get into that really, and maybe while I'm having a quick sip of the Taittinger Grand Cru, you might want to have a little think about what your favourites would be, what your top 10 or at least top 5, top 3 might be of this year. I'm not talking about ones you've built so much, because for me I've only built two kits. Oh dear, is that right? 2? I think it's true. I've built 2 kits to completion, and I've got one that's underway. And that is my worst performance since I came back to modelling 12, 13 years ago. So that's not very good. But I'm not the only one. I was watching the Flory guys talking about the same subject, and some of them weren't much better than me. Life gets in the way, and some of us are a bit put off when watching the Ukraine war and things like that. There's been lots of factors, but everybody's got their own reasons. But some people have been really good at it. I've been bad this year, very poor. So next year, 2023, I'm pledging to you, I'm going to do more, try and make a bit more of an effort really. I think for me the honest truth is a combination of mojo, motivation, and also YouTube, the work I do here. I mean, we did Matchbox March, we had some fantastic stuff in Matchbox March. A lot of the kits were mine, but a lot of others were from some of you. And that almost developed a momentum of its own, and it rolled over into May, and then it rolled over into August, and on it went, and many of you sent your kits, and it became, there's no way I would refuse somebody sending me a nice Matchbox kit that I hadn't seen before. There's no way I'd refuse them, apart from time and life getting in the way, So this is why I never got, there's a lot of hours. And this is what a lot of you don't appreciate, I think. If you don't have a YouTube channel, it probably looks like, he just sits down in his garage and he just blah, 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 it's a drink, blah, blah, shows you this kit. That's a tiny part of it, though. And I'm not complaining. I'm not looking for sympathy from anybody. But anyone who has a YouTube channel, literally what you see when you watch these videos, it's just the tip of an iceberg. It really is. Because it takes me... And I know Phil Flores talked about this, and I think I heard him talking about it 2 or 3 years ago. I thought, come on, Phil. But he was quite right. Excuse me. Shooting the video is just the beginning. Now, I cut the corner and I give you this, videos with incidents that are not edited out, because I don't do any editing at all. Because I can't edit. Simple truth, I haven't got the skill. Now I have got some new computers and software, so that might change in the future. But Phil Flory's point, which I do completely agree with now, having had more experience myself, you've no idea the preparation, downloading your film. Then you've got to download it to your computer by whatever means you have, then uploading it to YouTube, and this is not fast. This is painfully slow. Painful. I mean, an hour's video will take 3 hours to upload. On top of that, you've got the time it takes you. You often have to sort of babysit it as well, because things go wrong and it'll crash. This has happened a few times. YouTube has these go slows, and then they'll upload the video, and then they have processing. Processing is another 2, 3, 4 hours to give you, first of all, low definition and then high definition. And this goes on and on and on. And they often have these go slows, or even yesterday or the day before it was saying, processing is taking longer than expected. And it's like, why? Now, processing is not between me, the YouTuber, and YouTube. It's internal within YouTube. It's now left me. They have the entire file uploaded. They are processing, and this is the frustrating thing, because their servers obviously can't handle the sheer amount of demand, if you like. I don't know, but it takes much, and you have to nursemaid everything all the way through. You've got to choose a thumbnail. You've got to do all your write-up. I mean, I like to do a video description that's usually quite, not in depth, I would say, but it's a very good intro, and it tells you what you're going to see. And then there's an end screen where you have to choose relevant videos that you might also enjoy. This takes forever. So if you've got to say an hour's video will take most of a working day to actually get it onto YouTube, just for one. Now then you realise, if it's an hour and a half like some of mine are, this one's probably heading that way, then it just takes forever. It's horrendous, and it can take overnight. And there's been times when I've been ready to go and selected, Premiere at sort of 8 p.m, which is my normal time, because it enables the guys in. It's a great time for me, 8 p.m, because I think it enables the guys in Australia, America, and Europe all to get on board. It's breakfast time almost in Australia, and it's lunchtime in America. Lunchtime or afternoon, and obviously in Europe it's evening. It's a sort of sweet spot, and there's many times I had to cancel it because they haven't got the processing, and I do a check and it's still at low definition, and it's just wastes this camera, which does a great job, and it's not being asked to do lots of refocusing as you saw with my cabinet video. The camera's a good one though, and it generally gives you a very high definition image when I'm showing a kit. But no, it's all wasted because they can't upload it, because haven't got the storage capacity or whatever it is, and it can take another day, and often that's why sometimes things get rescheduled. Anyway, I'm not complaining, I'm not looking for sympathy. I appreciate when people take the time to actually watch my videos, especially if you watch it right through to the end. But do not kid yourself, this is not easy, and if you try it yourself with anything, with a HD image, with a good camera and a long meaningful video, you'll be there forever. It's horrendous. Anyway, without further ado, I think we wish each other a very happy new year at this point, before I do my final part here, which is to basically present my top 10 new kits of the year, many of which you'll disagree with, some I think you'll understand and agree with, and I'll give you the order and why. So without further ado, now I need to not move, if I can avoid it, not move my machine, because if I do, that will affect. There we go. I'm going to zoom you in. I need to just go back out, and we need to go to the kits of the year 2022, as according to moi. But you can throw tomatoes at the screen and disagree with everything I've said. It's absolutely fine, because we've all got our own in our head. But I've seen a lot, I've handled a lot, and these are my favourites. And the only two, I'm sorry to say this, the only two that are vehicles are both ambulances. And here we go, so obviously you know what's coming next. I'll just knock off that other light because it doesn't help us here. Right, so this obviously is the Airfix Austin K2 ambulance. Now, this for me is my number 10. And I think this is a kit, I have seen it now. I haven't done a review, but I have seen it properly. And I've got to say that it's a really nice kit. I think if there was any problem with this kit, it was just the fact that it was. I think it's a little bit pricey for what it is. I don't think that the kit itself is a problem. I think it's a good kit, and it's a simple. There's two options. We all know where this is going, obviously, but there's two options you can have. You can have a very simple kit to build an ambulance, or a much more complicated one with running gear and gearboxes and engines and all sorts of detail. And it really does depend entirely on what you want. I'll just have the lights on. We'll have that on. So it does really depend on what you want from a kit. And if you want a simple, quick build, somebody said this to me the other day about Matchbox. They said, I like these Matchbox. They're a nice, quick build, and you can do them in a day. Obviously, you can't do that with a lot of kits today. With the K2 ambulance, you could probably build that in a weekend if you're really focused and no distractions. But it can be built in a sensible time. So yeah, it is a nice kit. Very popular subject, obviously, especially with the link with Ice Cold and Alex. And it's been very popular. And I would place that at number 10. I'm talking about new kits this year, 2022. So I would place that at number 10. Please feel free to give your views. I know many of you have actually built this and done a lovely job of it, I've got to say. But that's my number 10. Then, at number 9, we've got Tamiyar's updating of their Lightning, which of course is a fantastic kit. One of these almost dream kits that drops together. It's got brilliant concepts within it, design concepts where, you know, you've got ball bearing weights in there to make sure it sits on its nose. They've got clever ideas where the nose and the main fuselage sort of slot together, and where you have a really clean, crisp, beautifully manufactured kit that needs minimal adhesive. It all falls together, and I mean, we're in the J. This is the new one. Excuse me. Obviously, we've had the GH version prior, or is it the FG? FG, isn't it? And it's just a development of that, but an absolutely stellar kit. You know, the sort of kit that you put together and it's just a pleasure to build. Now, I've not actually built mine yet, but we all know from the feedback from everybody that has built it, I am going to build mine. It's definitely on my schedule list, serious schedule, because I bought that the runway matting I bought specifically for this. So that's definitely planned for it. So it's definitely going to happen. But that is a beautiful kit. A dream to build. The only thing you need to add, in my opinion, is probably some better gun barrels, because the plastic ones are a little bit underwhelming. But apart from that, it is just, you know, it's almost a shake and bake kit. You can throw it together in record time, relatively speaking, and really, there's so many kits that are a pain. You know, you get halfway through and you can see on the Flory forum, for example, people start off with the greatest of intentions and huge enthusiasm. You can see them getting worn down by some of these kits, me included. I mean, that Mirage wore me down, the bloody Buccaneer wore me down, you know. So many have really disappointed me, and this is not going to do that. So that's at number 9, the P38J Lightning from Tamiyar, an absolute dream of a kit. This will surprise some of you. So obviously we have had the big one from Airfix this year has been the 24 scale Spitfire Mark 9 C. Now I reviewed this recently and many of you saw the review. I enjoyed it. I've had a very, very good result in terms of number of views on both that and the preview trailer I did. And it's an absolutely excellent kit. It's right bang up to date. It's a big, detailed Spitfire, including things like the cooling and the wiring that goes to the engine, all that kind of stuff, in a way that we haven't really seen before. So an absolutely stunning kit, £95 retail price, brilliantly priced, excellent. But the reason you think, why is it at number 8 then? Why is it at number 8? No, I have got nothing against Airfix, I can promise you. But I was just slightly disappointed with this kit because it didn't break new ground in the way that the same model aircraft at 32nd scale did from Tamiya. They had all these wonderfully super thin 32nd scale. It's a tricky thing to pull off. They had the super thin cowls and engine covers. They had the magnets to attach them. They had the stand. They had that clever undercarriage system. This didn't have any of that really. It's very competently, beautifully designed. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against it whatsoever. And it's well priced. But it just doesn't move the game on at all for me. It doesn't move it on from what they did with the Tempest for me. Sorry, the Typhoon I should say. And there was a couple of issues I didn't like. You've seen my review, many of you. This issue where the exhaust nozzles have got the sprue gate attachment point right in the middle of the centre of the exhaust, which is a mistake. And Chris, who designed this model, is a lovely chap at Airfix, very nice chap. I met him, and he's a really good designer. But you can tell he's not really a model maker because had he ever built that Tamiya kit, they made the same error. They kind of got away with it. But I don't think at 1/24 you really can and expect not to get any criticism, because had he been through that experience that those of us that built it did, he would probably not have repeated that as a design. You know, he'd found a different way to get the attachment not in the middle of the fishtail weld, which makes it very hard to ever get it back. So I think that was a bit of a design flaw. On top of that, the split wheels and tyres, I think that looks crude. It looks like a 1/72 that's been blown up. And apart from that, I think yes, it was very, very nice, but just not. A lot of people have raved about this model, especially on YouTube, and I'm thinking I sold mine within 48 hours of reviewing it. By the way, gone. But I just thought, well, it's a really nice kit. I wouldn't blame anybody for buying it, but it's not. They're talking like it's the second coming of Christ. You know, it's not. No, it is. It's a very nice kit, and it's going to be a good earner for Airfix. That's what you can say. But for me, it didn't set a new standard. It didn't meet my expectations I'd kind of hoped for. So there we go. So that's in at number 7. Number 6, and I have it here actually. Now this one I've actually got to hand. Ta-da! Hobby Boss, and their wonderful A10C Thunderbolt, which they reissued in the autumn. Now, why is this so great? We all know that it's a kit that dates back to 2004, was it originally? I forget now. But it's the early 2000s. But they updated it to the C version. Well, I've got to be honest with you. The reason this is some of you would be spitting feathers. Spitfire's better than that. Is it though? This cost me £33 delivered to my door. Tell me that is a third the price of the Spitfire, basically. I'm sorry, but it's wonderful, this is, for the money. It's a very, very respected kit. They updated it with the later weapons and the later C systems and things, the different cockpit. By the way, some of you will recall that I had a bit of a problem with my canopy. I'm delighted to say I now have 2 sets because our friends at Jadlam, who actually supplied this one, such a competitive price, they have now replaced it by raiding another kit, and it's absolutely fine, the new canopy. So I'm pleased to say that got sorted. £33. Now, you know, we talked about the ambulance, yeah. Well, the ambulance cost that £33 from Airfix. There's a lot more kit here, I think, than there is in that ambulance and value. And again, I'm not knocking Airfix, but this is exceptional value for money. And at that price point, it's going to get a high rating. It's going to, isn't it? It's going to get a good rating. So, I'm just flicking back to make sure I've got the right order. Yeah, it was number 7, not number 6. I'm getting a little bit out of sequence here. It's the champagne. I think that's fantastic. I think you still pick this up, and we know that the new Academy one's come out, which is nicer, but dearer. Still good, very competitive though. But it's not that much better, actually. It's not that much better than this. And again, if money's, you know, you think about Revel kits at this price, this is fantastic value for money. It's one of the best value kits to come out this year. So that is my number 7. Number 6, Airfix again. Now, this is one that I didn't actually review, but I have now handled and seen properly with great detail. This is designed, of course, by Pramjit, our friend Pramjit, and he's done an absolutely beautiful job with this kit. The only thing for me that I sort of resented, I told him off when I was at Telford, was the fact that I wanted the RAF version, the S2B, the bomber, with the bulging bomb bay, obviously. But this is a quantum leap forward from that hideous previous 48th kit that they had. And they didn't do the S2 CD anyway, did they? That is a beautiful, beautiful kit that he's produced, and of course they've also previously done the 172nd. It's a huge leap forward. It fits together nicely. Some people did report 1 or 2 quality issues with it, but overall, I think that's definitely deserves to be in the top 10. Beautiful new kit, should be applauded. And I was trying to twist Pramjit's arm, saying, "Come on, when are you going to release the RAF Bomber S2B version?" And he was like, "Well, I can't say. Soon, soon, please, come on." Anyway, I can see that being one of my favourites next year. I really can. Quite clever in the way that they split it over 2 years, so they can get in the awards twice. Anyway, there you go. So that's the Buccaneer. You won't be disappointed with that kit. It's a nice one. It's got 1 or 2 little clever features in it as well. The only complaint people have had is that the radome doesn't pivot off, because you can't see the radome in the nose. It's a bit of a shame, actually. I wonder if they could do that on the RF version, because I'm someone who used to be a child at the school at Honington, where the Buccaneer base was, RAF Honington. So I'm very familiar with these aircraft, and I used to see them as a youngster. I would love to see that, but this has got I think it's Martel and Sea Eagle missiles on it. But a beautiful kit. The only criticism I have of this, apart from the radome thing, which I'm not that bothered about, but I think it was terribly expensive. Now, we just talked about the A10C at £33. Well, this was £76 retail. Now, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Why is that more than double the price of that A10? It doesn't make sense. And I should have pointed out when I was talking about the Spitfire, this is all relevant because this one's been tooled in India. Now, the Spitfire, to give it its due credit, it was tooled in the UK, which is to be applauded, I think. You know, the fact that it's a home tooled model. But I can't understand it. That was £95, 24 scale. Here we've got a 48 scale, and this is £76, and that just seems too much to me. So that's the thing that kind of put me off it a little bit. So I hope they reprice it for the RAF version. Not try it at 76 again, because I'm telling you now that's too expensive. Anyway, but a beautiful kit. If you can get it at a good price, if they start discounting it, then you should pick it up. Okay. Then, what have we got now? So we're in at, I'm losing track here. I'm losing track. So that's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, top 5 then, top 5. Now, I didn't believe that Revell would get into my top 5 this year, but they produced this beautiful F-15E Strike Eagle, which I had, and I actually did a review on, and I actually auctioned this off on eBay to a gentleman called Gary from Manchester, who I met at Telford. He actually came up to me and said, "You're Peter, aren't you?" And he got a book as well. And it was unfortunate because it was this was to raise charity. We did one for Ukraine at the start of the year, where we raised funds for the Ukraine Disasters Emergency Committee appeal, and then I did one for this one where this wasn't Ukraine, this was for the Maid of Harlech, for the appeal to raise funds to recover this P-38 Lightning that is in the sand at Harlech in North Wales, buried on the beach. Anyway, Gary, the night that this was concluded, the auction was concluded, was in fact the same night as the Women's European Football Championships final, Germany versus England. England, of course, won. Sorry, our German buddies. But it meant that nobody was looking at the auction, and it didn't go for such a high price. And Gary had already got his bid in. And he was such a nice guy, this chap that bought it, Gary. He actually said to me, he said, "Look," he said, "I got this for a bargain," because he basically got the book for free, and it was a nice book. That's the one that I was messing about with when I spilled the champagne, if you look back. Anyway, he said, "I made a separate donation to them as well. He said because I thought that I got it too cheap. And I thought that was really nice of him. So if you're watching, Gary, thanks very much, mate, and Merry Christmas. I hope you have a great 2023. It's nice to have people on the channel with such a nice attitude and spirit as that, and generous to a T. So thank you very much. But this was a retool, totally superior to anything that Revell have done for quite some time, really. One of the best, new tools that they've done for a long time. A brilliant kit, and they deserve to be fifth just because they made an effort for once. They really have made an effort with this kit. It's well priced. You can pick it up for about under £20 in the shops, and frankly, it's worth every penny. It's worth every penny. And it comes with this beautiful commemorative decals as well, so that's really nice. So there you go. Now we're getting to the serious stuff. Now it's the top 5. That's number 5. What do you think number 4 will be? I can hear some of you cheering and others groaning in horror. Number 4. Now this was bit of a bittersweet moment for me. I reviewed this, and of course the actual original artwork should have Princess Elizabeth, but it didn't have it because they were worried about copyright. I think at Gecko, obviously it's Chinese, and they use this rather strange, the well-known K2 emblem. Don't even call it Austin. They don't mention the Queen or the Princess, but anyway, it was Princess Elizabeth. And I did the review of this about just literally 3 or 4 days before she passed away, so I felt, and I sold it, maybe it was a week before, and then I sold it 3 or 4 days before she passed away, so I regretted selling this, sold it on, because I don't, a lot of you know, I haven't got the capacity in the cabinets for it, but anyway. Why does this beat the Airfix? Well, I think you all know the reason. There are 2 reasons actually. One is the fact that it's got all this detail. It's got a fully detailed engine. You get the Princess Elizabeth figure with it. You get the gearbox and all the running gear and all this fine, much more fine detail. Internally, you get lots of photo etch, which the Airfix kit had really nominal photo etch. I mean, it was a bit of a taking the mickey, I thought. But what really killed the Airfix against this, for me, wasn't the fact that they did it differently, but that they priced it too high. This one, with all this extra detail, was no more than £6 more money. Now that isn't the differentiation between the two, just wasn't enough. Airfix should have put that K2 ambulance out for about £27, I think, and they didn't. They put it out for I think £33.95, which is less than £5 to £6 from this one. You'd never buy the Airfix unless you, if you want to support the local company, I can understand that, and I agree with you to a degree, but rationally, no. This was very competitive. It gave you everything. You got the figure of Princess Elizabeth as well, which I'm sure those that bought it at that time are probably very pleased. I'm sure the person who bought it from me is delighted. The value proposition, this is a complete winner, and beat the Airfix on value, really, for me. But, horses for courses, and others will say I don't want all that extra, but yeah, fine, if you got it for 10 quid less, then I'd agree with you, but Airfix, again, a bit like the 24 scale Harrier and the Buccaneer, overpriced it, I think. I think they did. So there we go. Maybe if they'd have known this was coming out at the time it did, they'd have done it differently, but there we go. Anyway, there we go, folks. So no, we haven't finished yet, don't worry. Top 3. Now we're getting into the serious stuff, and I have all 3 of these kits here, so I'm not going to show that anymore. I'm going to shut that down, and we're going to talk physically, and I'm going to show you the kits. I'm not going to get them out because you've seen them already. But this is where it gets really serious. What possibly could be the top 3 kits of 2022, do you think? Now for me, this was the kits that are 3rd and 2nd were going to be 2nd and 1st, and something changed that very suddenly at the end of the year. So this is what I said earlier about it's not what I expected. So basically, in the end, this is the way it worked out. But between 2nd and 3rd is so close, and I was undecided, kept changing my mind. But this is the way I decided to have them go. 3rd place on the podium of winners for 2022. The 3rd greatest kit, in my opinion, that came out this year is the Avro Anson from Airfix. Now, all the things that you heard me complaining about those other Airfix kits do not apply here. This one is well priced, it's innovative, it's fresh, It's been cleverly designed. It's got some really beautiful visual features about it. I'm not going to open the box and talk about them in detail now, but you know what I'm talking about. This beautiful stress skin effect. They got fantastic little touches. This is designed by Matt Whiting, Airfix's other designer, tall gentleman with the glasses. And he even got things in there like the little map table and the pilot's notes. And it's brilliant. That's the kind of thing that people really like to see. A little bit of personality thrown into the kit. A touch of something a bit different. This wonderful skin effect. And a lot of people, by the way, have said, oh no, it's wrong because no, they weren't like that. They weren't fabric covered. Well, some people, I've seen this several times, some people don't understand. I spoke to Matt Whiting personally and he said, it isn't fabric, yeah. It's called Aeroply, and it's literally a veneer, basically a veneer. So it's almost like fabric, but it is in fact a very thin veneer of wood, and it does crinkle and crease and tension, and in different weather conditions and humidity it changes. So you won't always see an Anson looking the same, depending on how it's been stored, how old it is, etc., and the conditions it's kept in. But they've come up with a beautiful box art. They've come up with a stunning looking kit here. This for me raised my expectation that the Spitfire was going to be even better, and it wasn't. And this is why I'm not the Spitfire's greatest fan. I've got no problem with it. I'm not negative about it, but it didn't hit. It didn't quite get there for me. This did. This totally exceeded expectations, and is a beautiful, stunning kit. Clever in so many ways. The attention to detail is gorgeous, frankly. So that's number 3, the Avro Anson for me. There we go. 3rd place on the podium. What could possibly be second? I need a drink and I'll tell you the answer. Get the lights back on. There we go. In second place, and it beats the Anson by a hair's breadth, by a whisker. But again, this came down to a question of value as well. Now it's a lot more expensive, but Zokimura's SWS BF109 G14 U4, a stunning kit. Now the reason this wins over things like the Anson, it's twice the price of the Anson, but hey, you know, have you seen the instruction book in this? It's like a manual, it's like a technical manual. You get the Eric Hartmann figure, the Fighter Ace figure, and it's so beautifully detailed, and they have such an attention to detail in the way they show you how things should go together, the historic detail. These guys really nailed it with this kit, and it was what, £85 I paid for this. Now if that had been £110 I wouldn't have thought it was expensive. So they really did nail it in value. And again, it's a bit like the for me it's a little bit like the Hobby Boss A10, but on steroids, because they throw all the details at it, and the figure, you know, you've got every part of the aircraft is represented, all the ribs. It's an absolute beautiful, it's a detailed build though, and I know that's not for everybody, but for £85 that is phenomenal. Probably the best value kit of the year in my opinion, and I commend it to you without reservation. I'm going to put them out so you can see them here. I want them all to be here so we see all the winners from me. And that really just leaves us with the winner. Now the winner I mentioned, didn't expect this, didn't see it coming, it just appeared out of nowhere like some sort of stealth aircraft that just suddenly appeared. You weren't expecting it, it wasn't on the radar, and there's a reason for that. It is a stealth aircraft. It's the F-35A Lightning. You've just seen my review, I think, in the last 24 hours. Now, I got given this as a gift for Christmas. This has got nothing to do with my opinion of it or my review of it whatsoever. If you watch my review, just the first minute or two tells you everything you need to know about this kit. This has set new standards in terms of engineering, in terms of the way that the actual kit is conceived, the way it's engineered, the way it goes together, the forethought and the attention to detail that Tamiya put into it. They do many of the things that Zokimura do in terms of the historic elements, the background, the history, but they engineer it in a way that it's almost, we joked about it saying it, no cement is included. Do you actually need cement? This has taken the whole hobby another step forward, in my opinion. Just going to get rid of that light. Because, frankly, it's an engineering masterpiece. It's on another level. Now, I'm not the F-35's biggest fan as an aeroplane. Stealth aircraft generally I'm not the biggest fan of, but there, as I said in my review, there's an absolute joy in life to seeing something that is done so perfectly. It's like a Swiss watch, you know, like a Swiss watch. Something with such precision, such care has gone into it, such passion has gone into it. This is a clear winner. It has got to be considered the best kit of the year. Whether you love the subject or you don't, as an actual model manufacturer, the take on the way that they've gone about this is just on another level, and it reminds us of what they did with things like, you know, the Spitfire 32nd scale, the 48 scale Tomcat, and the Phantom, and it's just taken it to another level. So for me, it's not going to go very flat, this I can tell. Is it? Oh, there we go. There you have it. The winner 2022 is the Tamiya F-35A Lightning. I think that's the best kit we've had of the year. You may completely disagree, and I would respect that, of course, but that's where I'm at. And that's really it from me for this year. So I just want to say that I'm probably I need to do some modelling now, so I'm going to probably disappear again for a while. I don't think I'll be doing any more videos for some weeks at least. But I wanted to go out and have a proper considered, have a damn good drink for starters. But I wanted to really give you my thoughts about what had come out this year. I've not seen every kit, so you have to qualify it, and you know, that's my take on it. But if you strongly disagree with the top three and you haven't seen them, you should definitely get your hands on one of these, preferably all of them, and you will understand, I think, where I'm coming from. I think that'll become a lot clearer to you. It only remains for me to say to you all, thank you so much for supporting me this year. The YouTube channel has grown, it's doubled basically in size pretty much. I feel I've acquired many new friends with the people I read out on the list, and it's actually, I feel I owe it to people to do a quality of content whenever I can. I'm not someone who does build videos, and I'm probably not going to do that, but I hope you enjoy the way it's presented. The way I go about things, it's different to other people, I know, but not better or worse, but just different. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I very much enjoyed sharing it with you. I very much enjoyed the chat. It has me in stitches sometimes, the chat and the comments, so please keep the comments coming. I would love to hear your thoughts, what you think of my choices, and if I'm wrong, why am I wrong? You better tell me. Yeah. I think when you get to the top three, I think the choices become fewer and fewer, and you've got to have a very good reason. You know, somebody voted The Answer as the top choice I saw on YouTube, and I didn't disagree with him really until this arrived on my plate, literally at the very last minute, and I thought, oh, we have a new king. The king is dead. Long live the king. Do you know what I mean? It was literally like that. It was like, oh my God, you know, things don't stand still, so things change all the time. But that's where I'm at, and I think that's a fair summary of the year. I think Airfix made a quantum leap forward. Zokimura did so in terms of value, which nobody expected. And Tamiya just turned it up another gear, didn't they? I think that's the way to summarise it, really. I hope you've enjoyed the videos. I've certainly enjoyed your company. Thank you all very much for your time. If you've got all the way through this video and you've enjoyed some drinks with me, thanks very much. I toast the health of every one of you that's watching the vid, and especially the subscribers and the commenters in the chat. Thanks ever so much. Enjoy what's left of 2022. And I wish you all health and wealth in 2023. Let's hope it's a better year. And thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care of yourselves. And bye for now.